Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are MC.
It was deja vu all over again. The Royals' recipe for winning happened again last night against the Twins. First, a clutch two-out hit. Then rallying back from a deficit. And finally, Wade Davis shutting the door, giving KC another W. Royals fans are used to this script and expect to see it again and again this summer. Royals baseball on a chilly, windy night at Kauffman Stadium as the Royals continue a three-game series with the Minnesota Twins. Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. Joel Goldberg and Jeff Montgomery are coming right up. Those who do not believe the Royals will win the Central Division and go deep into the playoffs again this year point to the Royals starting rotation. Last year they threw the fewest innings in the American League. It's only 3 games this year, Hud, but they're off to a very good start.
Yeah, you know, that's last year, and every team has warts. They exposed themselves a little bit last year on the mound. Didn't hurt them. They won their first World Championship in 30 years. This year, so far, so good. 2.25? Really? That's what's helping them stay above 500 right now. So far, so good, those 3 starters. Now it's up to that new kid on the block.
And that's Ian Kennedy making his Royals debut tonight. He's our Let's Motor player profile, brought to you by BMW Mini.
One of the reasons they got this veteran right-hander is to eat up some innings and to improve that overall number that you mentioned last year. Ian Kennedy, good four-seam fastball on top. That's his strikeout pitch. His best secondary is that changeup, and he'll mix in some others. But the key is get 6 innings in.
And another area of concern for those who are skeptical about the Royals this year was the play at second base. Omar Infante coming off the worst season of his career. He's off to a very good start. He had the game-winning RBI last night in a 4-3 victory. Joel and Monty will talk about him right after this.
Continuing at Kauffman Stadium as the Royals looking for a series win and trying to get the offense going a little bit. Joel Goldberg, Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery out here in left field. And, you know, Monty, there's been a lot of talk about Hosmer can improve this year. Moose can improve more. These younger guys starting to get better. But let's dream a little bit and think about Omar Infante, a guy that had a rough year last year, but he wasn't healthy. Now he is.
Right, only hit .234 last year. And as a 34-year-old, you have to have your abilities. You have to have your health in order to perform. And I think what we're seeing from Omar Infante now is a guy that is healthy. As a result, much improved performance.
He's our Honda most trusted player. 698 OPS in his career, but just 552 last year. But he's making his mark right away. Game-winning RBI last night with a sacrifice fly. Really looks like the Omar from the past.
Exactly, and that's what the Royals hoped they were going to get. They look for some improvement. You look for it in any department. When you get it from a guy who was down last year, it's a big boost, especially early in the year.
The Royals know they'll get the defense from Omar Infante. Some of that added offense now will be a huge bonus. And speaking of defense, the Royals brought it once again last night. And when we come back here to Kauffman Stadium on Fox Sports Kansas City, we'll talk more about the defense. Locaine doing his thing, same as Eric Hosmer. Ryan and Rex are back to break it down when we come back.
We're inching closer to the first pitch tonight, and the advanced metrics will tell you that over the last 3 years the Royals are the best defensive team in the major leagues, and they have not made an error yet this year, and a whole bunch of very good defensive plays.
And I know Royals fans, they love to see the pitching and especially the back end of that bullpen, but man, a lot of fans, a majority of them love this defense, and why not? Because that's what helps you win games. It saves the pitcher's pitch count, and Moustakas on his heels. There's gold all over that infield, especially with Platinum Glove winner Alex Gordon in left field. The Royals have not aired yet. They look really good so far. We just keep it the same.
Ian Kennedy goes from one of the worst defensive teams in baseball to the best, and he makes his Royals debut coming up soon. Royals are having fun in the dugout, and with a victory tonight over Minnesota, they will win their first series of the year. The first pitch is coming up.
It's my time to shine. Been waiting all night. They bitchin' strong, but he threw it just right. I looked through the cracks, couldn't be a double. Now I'm kicking up dust. Your team's in trouble. I'm way too fast. Better be a good throw. Check my stats on bases. Third base coach talking about.
Royals baseball is brought to you by your local Kansas City area Chevy dealers. Visit for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. By Panera Bread, food as it should be with 24 Kansas City metro locations. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors, right stuff, low price every day. A little nicer tonight. The wind is out of the south, which means it's going to warm up, and we could get into the mid-70s tomorrow. But still cool and breezy. It's down into the mid to low 40s in the ninth inning last night. Here's Minnesota's batting order against Ian Kennedy. Oswaldo Arcia will be in left field, so Danny Santana moves to center. Eddie Rosario will be in left. Those are the changes compared to last night. And in a regular season game, we'll see Ian Kennedy as a Royal for the first time tonight.
Yes, he's a consistent starter as far as eating up innings. He's a veteran guy. He knows how to pitch. Strikeout pitcher mainly, and he does it with 4, possibly 5 pitches. Fastball being number 1. He'll average 90 to 93 with that fastball. His changeup is his best secondary pitch. He's got a curve, and also he'll throw a cutter slider combination. But look for those high 4-seam fastballs when he wants to strike out.
Here are the Royals defensively. One change. Paulo Orlando is in right field for the first time this year. Royals defense is presented by Ford. Otherwise, everyone else in the same spot as they've been for the first 3 games, of which the Royals have won 2. Royals are 2-1. Minnesota is 0-4. They have never started a season 0-5. And there's that good fastball with movement, and a strike from Kennedy to Brian Dozier, who had a big night last night. He was on base 4 times with a double, a single, and 2 walks. And now it's 0-2.
Brian Dozier, to me, he was a very intense player last night. You could tell in the rundown late in the game, in between second and third, he wasn't giving up. To me, he's one of their best players, and Molitor loves him in that leadoff spot. See what he can do with an 0-2 offering here.
Little pop up, backing out of play. Still 1 ball and 2 strikes. We talked last night about Dozier's power. He never hit more than 9 home runs in a minor league season. He had 28 home runs last year, but with that big swing, he will strike out, and had a Twins franchise record 148 last year. Changeup, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Back-to-back changeups there.
So the last 3 years, 18, which was a Twins record for a second baseman, and then 23 and 28. Check swing, no swing, and from 0-2 to 3-2.
Now, once again, you know, Dozier doing exactly what you want out of your leadoff hitter. See pitches, make him expend pitches, so the rest of the hitters can see what Kennedy's featuring.
Fastball right by him in 94.
Yep, not messing around. He loves his fastball and he'll use it. He's got a powerful pitch there, especially with his 2-seam movement. This was a straight one. It's a 4-seamer. 4 seams on top of the ball, make it go straight. 2 seams, when you put your hands on with the seams, it gives it a little sinking, dying action on the fastball. It looks really good.
Santana didn't pick a very good pitch to bunt on.
Okay, see how his fingers are up across the seams there. They call that a 4-seamer. And when you have it like a 3/4 delivery, sometimes it can make the ball dance a little bit, but that's mainly designed to go straight.
Santana was 0 for 5 last night. 1 ball and 1 strike. The Twins, down by 1 in the 9th inning last night, had Dozier at second base with nobody out, and one of Wade Davis's biggest outs was a strikeout against Santana. Cracked his bat. Escobar wants it. 2 down.
Oh, doesn't look like it's carrying much to left. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, that's a comment from the dugout.
Yeah,
that's what
right to the jugular
you know,
in the first inning.
I'm sorry. You know, it's been a long time since I've been in that dugout, but that's typically what a comment would be.
Now those flags would tell you that it is blown out to left.
Yeah, no, it is. I was just joking. That's a that's a baseball to baseball guy joke. It was a good pitch, man. Jammed him.
And a good pitch there to Joe Mauer at the knees. He walked 3 times last night and scored a run. Change up away, 1 ball and 1 strike on Mauer.
There's a few Twins in the lineup tonight that's faced Kennedy before. Mauer's one of them, going 1 for 3. Dozier has the most at-bats now with 5. Small sample size.
Good spot.
I like how he's hitting the corners.
You know, pitchers will say that, you know, if you're going to pitch someone away and you're going to miss, then miss away off the plate. If you're going to pitch inside and you miss inside, and that's what he's doing. He's not missing out over the plate. And look at that pitch right on the corner.
Boy, just watch the fluidity of his windup. That's very smooth. He's got look at it, over the top, very conventional, but his hands separate right on over the rubber with his knee, left leg kick. I mean, good balance. Here it is coming right at you.
Ian Kennedy is the same age as his uniform number, 31. Out of the Yankees organization, first-round pick in 2006 out of the University of Southern California. Made his major league debut the very next year. He started that season in A-ball, and by the end of the year he was pitching in the big leagues.
Wow. What a beautiful thing that is.
Breaking ball strikes out Mauer. Very impressive first inning for Ian Kennedy.
That's even better. That was filthy. Pinpoint accuracy. Line it up. That's some cheese at the knees and on the corners.
For the Padres, and he strikes out 2 of the first 3 in the first inning tonight. Here's a Royals lineup tonight. Only change, Paulo Orlando will make his season debut and bat 9th in right field after Ray Fuentes played the first 3 games. Ray got his first hit as a Royal last night and drove in 2 runs. All to face Tommy Milone, who at times has given the Royals a bad time, especially in his years with the Oakland A's.
Yep, only 36 walks. He is a strike thrower. Escobar swinging at that first pitch. Not overpowering fastball. He'll average 87 on that pitch. He's mainly a 2-pitch guy. Fastball, changeup. He'll mix in some curveballs and a little cut fastball at times. But he's a lefty that knows how to hit his spots and throw strikes. He'll throw some cutters in on righties.
And if there was a style of pitcher that consistently could give the Royals a bad time over the past few years, it was a pitcher like Tommy Milone, a lefty who has a good changeup and can cut the ball inside, as you just described.
I agree. And it's the pitchers usually that show that fastball early but get the Royals to swing at the changeup out of the zone. We all know the Royals love to hack. There's a changeup there. Malone deceptive with his delivery. He's got a good fluid, solid over the head delivery type, but also with that, throwing that changeup, he could throw that changeup almost every pitch and it would be tough to hit. It's a very good pitch.
Three and two.
See, he's making sure he's staying out of the middle. Glove's not going over his head. He's keeping it right there. And really, what the hitters, they try to pick up that rotation. It's better when they don't have that movement over their head.
Back to Malone. Easy play and 1 out. And a look at the Twins defensively behind Malone. Eddie Rosario is in left field. Danny Santana shifts to center, and Oswaldo Arcia is in right. And then Plouffe, Escobar, Dozier, and Mauer on the dirt. And Kurt Suzuki is behind home plate.
No Miguel Sano in right. Good arms out there. They all throw well.
A little bit outside to Mike Moustakas, who picked up his first hits of the season last night. On base 4 times, had a double, a single, a walk, and reached with an error.
Moose is a different player this year, as well as some of his teammates. Just seems very confident, Doesn't have that intense, that pressing look about him. He's very relaxed, standing more upright. Remember a year or so ago, I think that wasn't last year we saw it, as a year before that, how his right foot was out of the batter's box, way open with his stance, trying to find some kind of way to get on base and get some hits. And now look at him, he's upright and confident.
Two and two.
Okay, they just moved. Plouffe went from third all the way over here, and then they changed positions over there. It's nice to see how they're trying to play mind games with Moose.
Which is interesting, because the so-called book would say that when a hitter has 2 strikes, he's more apt to try and have more of a defensive swing and hit the ball the other way. The Twins, we saw them do this last night. They think when Moustakas has 2 strikes, he's going to pull the ball.
Right, and usually whenever they do that drastic shift, they'll put the guy on the left side that has more range.
Malone to the bag. 2 down. So the Twins were right. He did pull the ball with 2 strikes. And now Lorenzo Cain. Cain had a tough night last night, 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. However, our Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard tells us that over the past 3 seasons in the American League, only 2 hitters have hit better in April than Lorenzo Cain, and one of those players was released, James Loney, by the Tampa Bay Rays. Miguel Cabrera really doesn't count, right? He's kind of in his own category.
No, you can't put him up there. He's automatic. One of the greatest hitters in this era. Lorenzo Cain, he had some good swings last night, but just was a little bit off. They were executing some good spots on him. Talked to him before the game, and really I did most of the talking. He kind of just scowled. He wasn't in the best mood today. He wants to try to get out there and help his team.
Last night, to me, for Cain, looked like it was more of a mental battle with the pitchers. When he was ready for a slider, he got a fastball. When he was ready for a fastball, he got a slider.
Exactly right. Irvin Santana was on top of his game and really messing with the hitter's mind. Lorenzo had a couple of good swings to the opposite field. I think, talking with Dale Swaim, he said, we just want Lorenzo Cain to go up there and be free and pull that ball if he feels like he can drive one. And don't look to go to the opposite field all the time.
Good take. Good pitch by Malone, 3-1.
Perfect spot, down and away from him. Can't hurt him there.
On the ground to deep short. Escobar backhands, throws low, and Maurer, all 6'5" of him, stretches for the out. Tommy Malone gets 3 ground ball outs, and at the end of 1, no score. Deke move.
That wasn't very nice.
Teach him at a young age.
Yeah.
He'll probably pull that off on one of his buddies on Monday at school. Ian Kennedy, and this is that top line is why the Royals were most intrigued. 6 consecutive seasons with 30 or more starts. The only National League pitcher over the previous 6 years to do that. And the Royals liked Ian Kennedy as a pitcher. They also like his ability to pile up the innings, something the rotation needs this year compared to last year. And as Hud pointed out in the first inning, he is a strikeout pitcher. He's really had a strikeout spike over the last 2 years. More strikeouts in innings pitched last year and the year before. And he struck out 2 of the first 3 in the first inning tonight.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't see this Kennedy in spring training, and that'll just go to tell you, spring is spring. It's for guys to get their pitches in, pitchers to get their rhythm, to get hitters. And now when the bell rings, this guy's a veteran. He knows what to do. Execute down in the zone.
Escobar gets Plouffe.
Sharp breaking ball. Good changeup. Delivery looks compact. And he's hitting his spots.
And really the reason why the Royals were so cautious with him when he had that cramp in his hamstring is because last year in his first start he missed over 2 weeks because of a strain to his left hamstring. So playing it cautiously, and that time on the disabled list kept Kennedy from having another 200 inning season. Oswaldo Arcia.
And you know, the beauty of the early season schedule is there's off days and you can just plan accordingly. Put your guys in there when, ooh, that's hit the bag.
Arcia, as he was running up the line, was pointing at the first base umpire John Hirschbeck. We've seen batters run harder than that up the line.
Well, he kind of, he was begging it to go foul, really. So once it hits the backside of the bag, stays right down. Haas made it into a routine out. But had he just been busting it out of the box, might have made it kind of close there, but kind of hesitated out of the box.
Young Ho Park. Boy, Ned Yost, after the game last night and before the game tonight, on and on about Young Ho Park. Really impressed with his swing. That was the home run that he hit off of Joakim Soria in the 8th inning. But the Royals were just as impressed with the ball that he hit in the 2nd inning against Giordano Ventura, which Lorenzo Cain caught on the warning track. On another night, maybe a night like tonight, Park would have had 2 home runs.
So far, so good. He looks like he has a good compact swing with some power.
Oh, great spot. Ian Kennedy has faced 6. He has retired 6, and he has struck out 3. And when the Royals come up in the bottom of the 2nd inning, it'll be Eric Hosmer leading off, followed by Kendrys Morales and Alex Gordon. That happened just moments ago. She said yes. Is on the other side of that sign, just in case, was there a she said no?
I don't think so. But you never know.
Hosmer pulls it on the ground to Dozier, and there's one away. That's 4 batters faced and 4 ground ball outs for Tommy Milone. Tommy Milone is facing the Royals tonight for the 12th time in his first 4 starts against the Royals, all with the A's. 3-1 with a 1.84 ERA and a .212 opponent's batting average, but the Royals have caught up to him over his last 7 with an ERA just under 5. And most of those starts, in fact all of those starts, those last 7 have been with the Twins. So he's been a different pitcher with Minnesota than he was with the A's. 2-0 on Kendrys Morales.
Oh, he's tough to figure out, and when you're ahead in the count as a hitter, 2-0, you can expect a changeup. Most time you get a fastball, and the hitters call that pitching you backwards. 3-2, he threw a changeup to Lorenzo Cain to end that last inning, grounded out to the shortstop. So you're going to see holds that ball back there, and most pitchers will keep that glove fanned open so they don't tip their pitches. But there it was, a changeup, 3-2, hitters looking for the fastball, and he'd get you out.
It was a swing. John Hirschbeck, the crew chief and first base umpire, and it's 2-2.
You know, Milone, he carries himself like he's a 10-year veteran. He's in his 4th season is all. But he's tough to figure out.
That's his first strikeout, and they're 2 down in the 2nd inning. Get closer to the action here at Kauffman Stadium with Royals memories. Choose amongst a variety of unique opportunities, such as a photo on the field, watching batting practice, and delivering the game ball. Experiences are available for purchase each game exclusively through the MLB.com Ballpark app. Alex Gordon takes a fastball for a strike. Alex got that 2-run 8th inning started last night against Kevin Jepson with a leadoff single. And Salvador Perez tripled, scoring Gordon to tie the game, and then Omar Infante hit the sac fly to score Salvador Perez. The Royals came right back with 2 runs immediately in the bottom of the 8th with the first 3 batters.
Alex 4 for 14 with a home run in his career off Milone. More of the slow curves to the left-handed batters. A little bit easier to keep him off balance with that pitch. And he will throw it to righties in that same location there down in the dirt.
2-2. Just make contact with a changeup. A changeup, when it's on, is as tough as any pitch. When it is not on, a lot of times it ends up on the wrong side of the outfield wall, and Milone is prone to giving up home runs.
You know, when it comes to throwing a changeup by a left-handed pitcher to a left-handed batter, you don't see that very often, because the changeup lots of times will go from a lefty down and into the lefty, and that's a dangerous spot. But his changeup is a straight changeup, so he's comfortable throwing it to either hitter. Mainly that's a pitch reserved for righties.
Three and two.
Alex is in a pull mode so far off of him. He's trying to pull everything. His curve, change.
cut fastball that started in and with late movement caught the inside. So Malone has faced 6 and retired 6 to match the first 2 innings of Ian Kennedy. Man mask.
I like it.
Our University of Kansas hospital injury report. Gerard Dyson starting his rehab assignment at AAA Omaha today. Played right field, was 1 for 2 with an RBI, a walk, and he scored 2 runs coming back from that strained right oblique.
That's an active day. Get on the bases and run. Good to see it.
Escobar hits on the first pitch, and Alex Gordon's into left center field. 1 down, and now Ian Kennedy has knocked down the first 7 Twins hitters.
Just like the way he's attacking the strike zone with all of his pitches, mainly fastballs, but the overhand curveball is really crisp and sharp. It looks almost the same as Wade Davis's, especially that last hitter last night. You know, after he got crossed up and he hit Salvi in the wrist, you know, Davis said put it in a different gear, and he started breaking that hammer off, and that ball was 12-6. I mean, sharp bite to it. Kennedy's got a similar one.
Ball 1 to Eddie Rosario. Rosario should be the Twins' everyday left fielder. Paul Molitor needed to get Danny Santana in the game last night, so he played left. Rosario came on late for defensive purposes and almost made a diving play on Salvador Perez in the 8th inning, but the ball got by him. And the result was Salvi's first triple since 2014. That tied the game. And then he scored on the Infante sacrifice fly. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, that 2-seamer's got some good life to it. You have some pitchers have the ability to turn that fastball into 2-3 different looks, and that's why the fastball is the premium pitch in baseball, especially if you have one above average 95 or better, which most of them do now.
Still 1-2 on Rosario. Great story last year. Hit a home run on his first major league pitch. May 6th of last year against the A's, and Scott Kazmir finally get to the big leagues, on the first pitch you see, you've got a home run.
I remember
How about that.
I remember the shot of his father in the stands.
That's to the gap. Alex gets to it quickly. Rosario rounds the bag, and Alex, all of his momentum was toward left center field. He wasn't able to get a whole lot on the throw. And the Twins have the game's first hit. Rosario's at second base with 1 out.
And that ball hit the grass and just took off. High fastball, belt high, good, easy, short, compact swing by Rosario. Alex did a nice job of getting to it before it got to a triple.
Here's Twins catcher Kurt Suzuki. Paulo Orlando gets behind it. Rosario will stay put. And there are 2 down. Follow Royals baseball live on your phone and tablet with MLB.com at bat. Stay up to the moment with game day, video highlights, StatCast, bilingual access, split views, radio broadcast, news, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Download MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 app for live Royals baseball on your phone and tablet. So Rosario's at second base with 2 down to Dozier, who struck out swinging at a fastball in the first inning. And he gets a fastball for strike 1.
Most pitchers like to establish the fastball, and Kennedy's doing that tonight. Showing 2 different types, 2-seam run and a 4-seam straight. And until they hit it, he's going to keep throwing it.
Salvi blocks it. Rosario goes to third. He will advance. That is a wild pitch.
And Salvi, he did all he could to try to square it up. Ball just climbed up his arm. But Rosario, that's what you want to do if you're a base runner. Read that ball. It's right in front of you. Advance if you can.
Changeup. 1-2.
You know, it's nice to have the velocity on the board now because you can see, but you can see how he turns that over and rolls it, and that keeps it down and low underneath it. But you can also tell by the hitter and the way he swings at it what pitch it was. You can tell if he's way out in front of the swing, it was an off-speed pitch, and if he's behind it and misses it, it's a good fastball.
Try and put him away with a changeup. And he gets a little pop up.
Tester.
Hosmer makes the play. Kennedy gets around Rosario's 1-out double. asked Dave Island about his first 3 innings, where he's only allowed 1 base runner. Royals are looking for their first base runner. Salvador Perez will lead off. How about with a triple?
Oh, how about it now? Off the bat, he thought for sure it was going to be a hit. He had no idea he was going to get his first triple in 2 years. Look at the energy, the passion. I love that.
And he is the subject of tonight's Sprint Trivia question. Who has the most triples in a single season by a Royals catcher? Well, the obvious first choice would be John Wathan. He was known more for just triples, stolen bases, as a Royals catcher. 1-1 on Salvi. Salvi scored 2 runs last night. He had 2 big hits. He was part of the 2-run rally in the 2nd and the 2-run rally in the 8th. Malone got a pitch in on his hands, and it's 1-2. Let's bring in Joel.
Guys, had a chance to talk with Kurt Suzuki today, because you don't often see 2 catchers in a game hit a triple, and Kurt was telling me, and he knew right off the top of his head, I'd last hit a triple in 2013 with Washington. It was the first time that 2 catchers in a Royals game had tripled since 2003. But Kurt's saying that he pulled up at third base after his triple last night and turned to Moustakas and said, I need an oxygen tank. He said that he still was feeling some asthma 2 hours after the game. He had been so out of breath, but he also said couldn't help but laugh, and it was an important moment in the game as Salvi tied it with the triple. But he's watching Salvi run around the bases, the elbow pad flying. He said he was laughing at that one. He said, though, that when it comes to speed and stealing and guys that are good as a catcher, his mentor was Jason Kendall, who he followed like a puppy dog everywhere when he was a young guy coming up with Oakland.
Escobar backs up to the grass and brings it down. I think I saw or heard that it was the first time since 1937 that 2 catchers had a triple in the same inning. This was Suzuki in the top of the 8th, and then Salvi's was in the bottom of the 8th.
Yep, 1, 2 hops off that wall, and he just kept going. He earned it. Both guys did. Good hustle.
He was calling timeout before he was done with his slide.
I like it.
There's Jason Kendall sitting between Dayton Moore and George Brett. How about that for the best seat in the house?
Ooh, man.
And Jason Kendall, a lot like John Wathan, was known for his speed and at times led off when he played for the A's, began his career with the Pirates. It was 1936 the last time 2 catchers had a triple in the same inning. Omar Infante had the game-winning RBI last night with his sac fly in the 8th inning. Also doubled and scored a run earlier in the game. Tommy Malone strikes him out. That is 3 for Malone, and he has retired the first 8 Royals hitters. And now Paulo Orlando making his season debut. We will never forget his major league debut, which, by the way, was a year ago today when he tripled for his first major league hit. Tommy Malone opens with 3 perfect innings and no score as we head to the 4th. She and her family suffered an indescribable tragedy when she lost her father and son in a shooting at the Jewish Community Center in 2014. Mindy and her friends have created a movement to honor her father, Dr. William Corporon, and son Rhett. Starting next Tuesday before the second anniversary of the tragedy, a 7 days conference will encourage people to love, discover, focus on others, and move forward. Mindy sitting in the Buck O'Neil legacy seat at tonight's game. I remember that day. I was in your neck of the woods.
It was.
And what I remember about that day, as much as the tragedy, and of course it was all over the news. This is Danny Santana batting, 1 ball and 1 strike, was that people had gathered at a church in Overland Park to comfort one another, to pray for Mindy and her family, and Mindy showed up. And probably find it if you look for it on YouTube or online, but man, what an emotional scene that was. To there she was losing her father and her son, and then she shows up at the church to help people who were trying to deal with her loss.
Yeah, and you just saw how beautiful her smile was. Let it go. Strength.
Ian Kennedy has retired 10 of 11 in his Royals debut, and now pitches to Joe Mauer. And the breaking ball is low. He got Mauer with that pitch. Breaking ball down and in the first inning. Kennedy has struck out 3. Tommy Milone has struck out 3 in 3 perfect innings, so we've only seen 1 base runner in 3 innings plus 1 batter. One and one. Changeup.
You know, with the combination of his 2-seam fastball and the changeup, both of them have the same action going away from the lefty, but minus some velocity on the changeup. Makes it very hard for the hitter to try to figure out what that is. Best compliment a pitcher can have is when the hitter goes back to the dugout and tells his teammates, I don't know what it was. Oh my. Cheese at the knees. Joe, you got to go. Wow. He is dissecting that dish. Look at that. 3/4, 4-seamer, a little bit of late life, hair on it, whatever you hitters like to call that. That's tough. You can't hit that with a tennis racket.
Plouffe fouls it away. He grounded out to short in the second inning. Every time the Twins swing at a first pitch, I'm reminded of a number that our stats guru Dave Holtzman gave us before tonight's game. Kennedy was particularly vulnerable last year with the Padres when opponents swung at the first pitch. When they swung at the first pitch and put the ball in play, opponents hit .484. And if you like OPS, a 1.46 OPS. But he's pitching tonight like that is not an issue. He's still going right at these guys.
Boy, you can tell the confidence, the way he carries himself. He's got good mound presence. Trevor Plouffe grounded out in his last at bat, but he was 3 for 6 with a homer.
Pass Moustakas. Alex plays the bounce perfectly, and Plouffe, out of all that, has a single.
Well, these guys have played against each other enough to know when Plouffe hit first base, he looked up and Alex already had the ball and he did the right thing. You got to put the brakes on. Nobody plays his wall better than Alex. That's his left field wall.
So Plouffe is at first, not in scoring position for Oswaldo Arcia. Not sure that play would have been made for Kennedy last year.
Oh no. The outfield, the Padres, nothing like the Royals outfield.
Little bit outside, 2-0 on Arcia. He grounded out to Hosmer in the second inning.
You know, another nice thing about going back-to-back World Series like the Royals have done in 14 and 15 is the respect they're getting. Driving in on MLB Network today, I'm listening to the radio and they're talking about defense and prototypical type left fielders that have a big slugging ability but can't defend. And they brought up Alex Gordon right away. Well, Alex Gordon will change that mold. He's a platinum glove winner, 4-time gold glove winner. This guy here, he not only can deliver with the bat, he can defend. It's nice to hear on national radio and stuff them talking about the Royals now. They've earned their respect.
Three balls, one strike.
There's Salvia again, you know, just opening the glove, softening his hands, and just leaving it right in front of him. And he takes extreme pride in keeping the ball in front of him and not letting the runner advance. Look at how he keeps it open. Doesn't close his glove. And perfect footwork with his knees, shuffling his feet, trying to square that ball up, either on his glove or his chest protector.
Arcia hits it a mile. And foul. That guy, I would guess, was not expecting a souvenir when he sat down for the first inning. So Plouffe is running with this 3-2 pitch, and Kennedy backs off the rubber.
But fastball pitcher like Kennedy, Arcia's got to be looking fastball 3-2 here.
Struck him out. Wow. 5 strikeouts in 4 scoreless innings for Ian Kennedy.
Just rearing back, putting it right where Salvi's glove is. Yeah, salute.
Top of the order coming up. Get your own piece of hardware on Saturday, April 23rd, as we celebrate the 2015 run to the title with a World Series Champs replica trophy giveaway presented by Pepsi. The first 20,000 fans through the gates will own a piece of the glory with this special one-of-a-kind item. Gates are scheduled to open at 4:30. Get your tickets at Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS. Saturday, April 23rd. There is the one and only inside the Royals Hall of Fame.
It is a beauty.
Alcides Escobar takes a fastball for a strike.
How about Kurt Nelson? The historical, what's his title?
He is the director of the Royals Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay, that was close.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say he's the master of history in Royals history.
Good play by Plouffe.
Anyway, he was in charge of caretaking for the trophy all off season, and he was booked. His schedule, he went all over the place with that trophy. Plouffe almost traveled on that one, but he was able to make the play. Yep.
That's where that historical guy hangs out.
Look at that backdrop they have this year. They painted on that Hall of Fame is beautiful, man. It's got the people out there. There he is. White gloves. Don't forget those. Gotta have them. What a job. Rhino, you were great in that, by the way.
It's a day I'll never forget.
I never will either. You were awesome on stage, and so were the players. How about Johnny Gomes's? You think he wrote that up? I mean, that had to have been all off the cuff, but what he said was so unique and so true. Do we have any Cy Young Award winners here? No. And he kept going down the line. We beat them all. It was beautiful.
Three and one to Moustakas. Full count. Moustakas grounded out to the first baseman Mauer in the first inning. The Royals are 11 batters into the game against Malone, Moustakas being the 11th, and they haven't gotten a ball out of the infield.
Well, you mentioned it early in the game. This is the kind of pitcher that give Royals trouble. Left hand. Oh,
that's out of the infield, but foul.
Left-handers that are what hitters call soft tossing left-handers, not overpowering guys that have excellent changeups, keep them off balance. And Malone's doing a heck of a job so far against the world champs.
That ball is golfed out to right field and gone. You don't see that very often, where a hitter has home run distance on a foul ball, just misses a home run, and then on the very next pitch hits an actual home run. That's Moustakas' first of the year.
Oh, partner. Moose pulled out his 3-iron and hit a shot on the line. And I don't think he yelled 4, but he might as well. First home run of the year was swung on, gone. Probably got about 30 feet off the ground. I mean, that ball was launched.
That's the first home run for any Royal this year. Royals hit a home run in each of the first 7 games last year. And how about another one?
Oh, my.
Lorenzo Cain hits it to Kurt Nelson's office. Back to back, and a 2-0 lead against Tommy Malone.
This guy can do it. Hosmer, pilot to Bombardier, open them doors. Wow. Royals were the last team in the big leagues to homer, and it's back-to-back jacks.
I'm not saying Hosmer is going to get caught up in the moment here, but I would be shocked if we didn't see at least one home run swing. That might have been it right there. I saw that spinning curveball out in front of him.
Well, Moose hit a ball that would have been out in any ballpark, including Yellowstone. And the wind was blowing from the right field foul pole to the left, so he went against the teeth of the wind. And Lorenzo Cain got his up. It would have been out any night as well. And he had a little help with that wind, but man, both of them well struck. And just like that, the Royals are on the board. And you know, talking to some of the hitters today about not hitting home runs, they said, we don't care as long as we win games. That's all we're here for. We don't care if we don't hit a home run the whole season as long as we win 95, 96 games.
Dozier gets Hosmer. Dozier got a little bit of help there. That ball hit the side of the mound and kicked to the right in his direction. Here's the Moustakas home run.
Look at that nice little rock back. You see how you got to go back to go forward to get something on your swing. Man, oh, that was a top spin on it. And Lorenzo Cain right on the inner half where he likes it. A little Torrey Hunter lean back there. Look at that arc. His back, and that ball's off the Hall of Fame wall.
Morales struck out on a curveball in the second inning. 2 balls and no strikes. Two and one. A little bit outside. 3 balls and 1 strike. Staying away and down against Morales. 3-2. Let's see if he tries to mix it up and come in on him. Kurt Suzuki wants a changeup. Popped up and backing out of play.
Yep. Malone's going to throw 3-2 changeups. Looked like Morales was a little bit out front, shaking his head. He's got to know that Malone's not going to challenge him with a ball like he did Lorenzo Cain on the inner half, because Morales could do the same thing. Royals just back-to-back home runs, the first of the season, have plenty of power in their lineup. Another changeup.
Foul tip. Morales thinks it had hit the ground. Well, maybe they're going to say he never made contact. If he never made contact, then it's a strikeout. If he did make contact and that ball hit the dirt, Morales would still be hitting. So the Royals won't challenge it. After Malone retired the first 10, Mike Moustakas homers to right, Lorenzo Cain homers to left, and at the end of 4, the Royals lead 2-0. Kane go back-to-back in the bottom of the 4th inning, and the Royals take a 2-0 lead into the top of the 5th. And Ian Kennedy will pitch to Byung-Ho Park, Eduardo Escobar, and Eddie Rosario. And in with a strike to Park, who struck out looking in the 1st inning at a fastball. Kennedy has struck out 5. He has only allowed 2 hits in his 4 innings. And now 1-1 as we welcome in Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery. And Ian Kennedy just looks really smooth tonight, doesn't he?
Yeah, you have to like what you see from Kennedy. And I wrote down one word on my scorecard, and it's unpredictable. He's got such a variety of pitches to throw, and he seems to be confident in all 4 of those pitches. And the control and the location, the life, everything he's getting in those pitches, you know, is obviously a really nice sign for Royals.
Monty, I like to see how smooth his windup is. Very clean. Clean ball comes out of his hand with some life.
Well, and the thing is, he's not an oversized pitcher, so he has to be compact. He has to be very precise with his movements, and he's exactly that. He's very tight. He's over the mound a long time. Gets a lot of drive off that backside. When you're an undersized pitcher, you have to use those big muscles in order to generate that torque, and he does that.
Same way he got Park in the 2nd inning. Fastball looking, and that's 6 strikeouts in 4 1/3 innings.
We're going to take a look at some of his action here early on in the night. And again, it's just a variety pack, and whether it's a fastball, it's a curveball, it's a changeup, it's a slider, he's got everything, and he has the ability to elevate with intent. He gets a lot of guys strike out looking because they're looking for something maybe off, and then he goes with that high fastball. That's a pitch that got him a lot of strikeouts last year.
Boy, he'd be tough to hit tonight. He is on. You could tell from the 1st inning that's a strike. Well, and I didn't give it to him, but that's a great spot.
You know, based on his injury and the fact that he had not been on the mound in live action for so long here, for a couple weeks almost, I was a little concerned about his sharpness tonight, but gosh, he sure answered those bells.
Yeah, I heard you and Joel talking about that during the postgame show last night, that, you know, he could pitch all he wants on the side, but there's a whole nother gear and another level when you get onto a real game.
And also making his Royals debut, and after signing a nice contract to come and pitch for the Royals, a lot of pressure, and regardless if you admit it or not, Hud, you're going to have some pressure when you sign a contract like that. You want to perform, and he seems to just really has not missed a beat.
Ian told us in spring training during one of our broadcasts that he and his family are moving here, moving the family to Leawood from Scottsdale. That's up the line and foul. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Eduardo Escobar.
The fact that he's moving here permanently is a great sign, and I'm sure that he, more than anyone, probably enjoyed all those off days early in the season to take care of some of those housekeeping chores that he had.
He and his wife Allison have 4 daughters, and they're all, if I recall, age 5 and under, right?
Ooh, man, they got you beat. Or are you guys in the same league?
We're 4 age 6 and under.
Wow.
No swing. Those 4 daughters: Nora Rose, Renee Elaine, Lydia Marie, and Evelyn Nicole, the 4 daughters of Ian and Allison Kennedy.
Well, I'm sure they understand the value of Midwestern lifestyle and good education for the family. His wife's from St. Louis, so she's got some familiarity with the beautiful Midwest.
And I talked with him a little bit about that in spring training camp, and that was one of the things he said, was that, you know, they enjoyed their time in Arizona, but they've sold their home there. They're moving to Leawood permanently and looking forward to raising their children here. And he said the fact that his wife was from the St. Louis area, that was a factor in their decision making.
Base hit right field for Eduardo Escobar. He's on with 1 out. We remind you, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
If Ian Kennedy can be a Edison Volquez for the Royals this year, watch out.
Well,
We'll have 3 hard throwing guys that have a great idea at the top of their rotation.
All right, when Volke came in last year, it was to fill those shoes that James Shields had left empty here, and he did a great job in doing that. And now Kennedy coming in, he's looking to add to the equation. He's a guy that you lose Johnny Cueto, you only had him for half a season, but you need innings, and that's one of the things that Kennedy over the course of his career has done such a great job at.
That's a good comparison, Hud, because last year, remember, most people were unimpressed with the Royals signing Edinson Volquez, you know, and for the most part, people felt the same way about Ian Kennedy. You know, that the Royals have been interested in Ian Kennedy for a while. I mean, it's not like, you know, they just reached into the dark and grabbed Ian Kennedy this year. They've been interested in him for years.
Well, you know, you hear the executive of the year, Dayton Moore, talk about acquiring players and how much he compliments his scouting staff and the work that those guys do in preparation and looking outside of the organization for help. These guys are well studied out, and they do their homework on their guys.
Absolutely. I spoke with Dave Island about it, and he said they've been trying to get him here for more than just a couple of years. So he's a guy that has been on their radar for a while.
And Dave Island was with Ian Kennedy in the Yankees organization when Kennedy was just coming up. So Dave Island has experience with Kennedy. He has experience with Chin-Ming Wong. We haven't seen him yet.
World Championship pitching coach has his handprint on a lot of things around here, especially what he's done since he's been here with the pitching that's already been in-house, with the way he tinkers with their mechanics and helps them adjust. That's exactly what you want out of a pitching coach.
Well, the thing that impresses me about Island, he has the ability to identify mechanical flaws that guys may have. They can make the adjustment during the middle of a game because he has the ability to pick that up. But also his approach, the way he helps pitchers figure out what to do on the mound, aside from the mechanics.
I like his mental coaching as well as what he does with the mechanics.
Absolutely.
He's an old school, no nonsense guy. Hey, look, you know what? You make a bad pitch, own up to it. Make a better pitch the next time.
He is the ultimate no excuse guy.
Oh, no question.
Remember the spring training game we did when Ventura got knocked around by the Dodgers, and we were talking about different things in Arizona. You know, the low humidity and the hard infield,
the wind blowing out,
the aggressive minor league hitters up there. He was going to have none of it. He had a mechanical issue. He was going to fix it, and that was going to be the end of it. But I mean, runner goes.
Oh, yeah.
Strike two. Out number two. Escobar is gunned down.
You put Ian Kennedy on a defensive team like this, watch out. Salvi shuffles the feet right over the top. Steer Ike, you got to go. He's out. Yeah. Way to give him a good pitch to handle.
2-2 on Rosario. And now full count. Something I've heard very, very little of since Dave Island has taken over as pitching coach, and Monty and I will remember years and years of this. A pitcher getting knocked all over Kauffman Stadium and after the game saying, I thought I made some really good pitches. You don't hear that anymore.
Yeah, that's one thing you're not going to hear with that man in charge. Guys, I want to go back and look at this stolen base attempt here. See, Kennedy, it's not a slide step. He does a full, you know, he lifts his left leg up, you know, all the way. It's a normal delivery for him. He's just compact and he's quick home, which gives his catcher, Salvador Perez, an opportunity to throw out the base runner.
Nice point. Looks like he really loads up very well with his hips.
Changeup pulled on the ground to Infante. Kennedy faces only three. Hosmer with an awkward stretch to handle an offline throw. 5 scoreless innings for Ian Kennedy in his Royals debut. Just like last year. Last year's spring was a Wednesday. Might get a little longer one this year. This week only, T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to sign up now and catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. Alex Gordon will tap to Malone. Mauer made a move for the ball and then had to retreat to the bag. 1 pitch, 1 out for Tommy Malone. Alex Gordon is 0 for 2. Tommy Malone set down the first 10 Royals, and we'd seen that before. He's had some very good starts against the Royals in his career. But with 1 out in the 4th inning, Mike Moustakas and Lorenzo Cain hit back-to-back home runs for the 2-0 lead. Now Salvador Perez with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. Sal popped out to short in the 3rd inning.
I would like to see Tommy Malone pitch from the stretch at least once tonight.
That's right, he hasn't. And the longer the game goes, the more that can be a factor. I mean, if he goes 4 or 5 innings not pitching out of the stretch, and then suddenly he has to.
And we see that a lot in no-hitters that go into the 5th, 6th, 7th inning. Guys get in the stretch and they just don't have it. The stuff's not there. The location's not there.
Even when pitchers warm up in between innings, most of the pitches will be out of the windup, and then maybe the last 2 are out of the stretch. Getting back to our conversation about Dave Island, that's one thing Dave Island really works on a lot with pitchers, especially when they're pitching on the side, is he wants them to pitch out of the stretch more, because as he puts it, you're going to be making your biggest pitches of the game out of the stretch position.
Yeah, really important, because there's really no way to replicate that on the fly. You have to be prepared. It has to be something that's so natural when you take that mound for the first time. Either way, stretch or wind up, you got to be ready to go.
Hud, that's some tie you've got on tonight.
Hey, thanks for noticing, Rhino. Check it out. It's beautiful. You know where I got it? Of course,
where'd you get it?
I couldn't afford a tie like this. So you know the prestigious Simone Award they give to the best high school football player here in Missouri and Kansas?
Yeah.
Anthony Simone, the gentleman who's the award was named after. I went to the award. He let me speak to the crowd. I can't believe it. He gave me 10 minutes with the people, man. I loved it.
I watched it. You did a great job.
Oh, you saw that?
I did. I watched
Thanks,
it.
Monty. And I told him I loved his tie. He takes it off his neck and gives it to me. Anthony, thank you, man. I know you look a lot better with it on you than me, but how about with my boys here, man?
So literally took the tie right off his neck.
Took it right off. He didn't have to, and of course I graciously accepted, and I want to give him a little love. It's a very special moment. What an opportunity to be able to share with those young people. The gym was packed. It was very, very special. It was emotional. They had a couple of kids that they talked about. Some kids that had some problems. One of the gentlemen a couple years ago got paralyzed. He was there. He gave it a tremendous talk. I mean, it was so great. I can't wait till next year's award.
It's a heck of a tie.
Thank you, sir. It makes me look better, doesn't it? Come on.
The tie makes you look better more than you make the tie look better. That's just my opinion.
I love it.
I didn't mean that.
Thank you, Anthony.
Well, here we go, Monty. Pitching out of the stretch for the first time after the walk to Salvador Perez, which is not easy to do.
No, it's not.
Although Salvi made a point in spring training, and I think it was Jeffrey Flanagan from MLB.com said that Salvi wants to have better plate discipline this year. The Twins, if they execute that, may get 2 outs and put an end to the inning. But Escobar can't find the grip, and Minnesota gets no outs.
Yep, tried to throw it before he had it. Looked up off the ball, and when you take your head off that ball, man, it finds a way to bounce out.
You guys remember back to the first series we played in Minnesota last year? the Twins did not look good at all in the very first game.
Yeah, the Royals win that game like 12-3 or something like that.
And I'm thinking, you know, they bounced back. They end up having a really nice season. They won that series actually in Minnesota. And I'm thinking Paul Molitor may have bitten off more than they can chew here with this group. But they really turned things around. But from what we've seen these first few games, they have not looked the same.
Paulo Orlando into center field. Mike Jershely holds Salvador Perez, and that was the right move. So Paulo Orlando, 1 year to the day of his major league debut when he tripled, and little did we know that his first 3 hits were going to be triples. A year later, he has a single for his first hit of this year.
Oh, and everyone came out of their seats here to watch this young man run. Check it out. I'll never forget it. And what he hit, 2 more after that in consecutive at-bats. Amazing to see that speed. Special.
After 9 years in the minor leagues.
Wow. And really, he's only seen 2 pitches tonight. First one he grounded out, that one right there, money. And Mike Jershely, before the game, was telling me, you know, the Twins outfielders, they're young, but they all throw well. Man, they throw really good. All of them are above average. And sure enough, that's the third base coach's job. He's got to know all the outfield arms in the league so he can let them know whether to go or not. And Salvi's not the fastest, but Jershely had the stop sign up way before he even came to third base. He does his homework.
Well, here's a big point in the game with the way Kennedy's pitching and with the Royals bullpen looming. This could be a game changer right here. Bases loaded, 1 out. 2 runners have been gifts thanks to a walk and an error. And Escobar takes a changeup for a strike. If Esky drives in at least 1 run here, he will have 300 RBIs for his career. So far tonight, he has grounded back to Malone and grounded to third. He's going to try to at least elevate something here. He does. Escobar will throw back to first. The ball gets away from Mauer. Another error, and the Royals get a run anyway.
Well, it's another situation where he's trying to press the issue. He's trying to force it out here, and there's really no play. Okay, catches it on the line, but he's not thinking. Paulo was back with plenty of time and made a difficult throw with the runner in line with the guy receiving the ball, Mauer. That's just too risky, and it cost him. You can't force the issue, especially with a guy like Paulo, who's really good on his feet, very quick going lateral left to right.
Mike Moustakas homered on a line drive to right last time up against Malone. So it's Infante at third. He also advances on the air. Orlando at first. 2 down. That will be out of play.
You're going to see Mike Moustakas break the ice for the Royals. They're going to pitch down the strike zone, goes down and gets it nice.
Monty, you're a great golfer. Was that a 3-iron?
It's 3 or 4 iron for sure.
Oh, man. That thing was just tattered and battered. Now, you could hang a week's worth of Goldberg's laundry on that one, couldn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Why is it always Joel's laundry?
He goes through all the laundry. I mean, think about all the Gatorade baths and showers and all the you know, the going to the dry cleaner with all of his clothes. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate. He's got a huge wardrobe.
Joel, come on, man. Why?
Come on, Joel.
Why does he do that to you, Joel?
Love you, man. Let's go. It's all about the love.
I'd never say anything like that about you. Slow breaking ball is outside. 3 balls and 1 strike.
Suzuki thought Paulo Orlando was taking off, and Orlando, he can run, he can steal some bags. You make an error against the Royals, they'll make you pay. They continue to pressure defenses by putting the ball in play and taking it to their opponent.
Base hit right field. So they've turned it into 2 runs. Paulo takes a wide turn. Mike Moustakas is driven in 2. And the Royals have back-to-back 2-run innings for a 4-0 lead.
Yeah, Molitor, he's got to be able to stop the bleeding here. No question. He's going to the bullpen. The Moose is loose at the K here tonight. Squaring those balls up, especially anything on the middle in. That was his home run swing almost. Same exact pitch.
Same pitch, same swing.
And a walk, both errors committed by Eduardo Escobar. The Royals have 2 in the 5th inning. Here comes Lorenzo Cain with 2 on, 2 out. Last inning, Lorenzo turned in our ram drive of the game.
You know, it was a no-doubter for sure. Lorenzo Cain is a bona fide number 3 hitter on a world championship team. By doing that, adding power, shortening up, getting base hits to right field, knocking runs in. Lorenzo Cain, I don't think we've seen his career year yet either, Monty.
Well, I hope not. I'll tell you, last year was certainly an outstanding season for him. 3rd in the AL MVP voting.
Torrey Hunter is retired for his 1st season. And growing up, Lorenzo Cain admired Torrey Hunter, like many. And it's very interesting to see how their swings are very similar. Let's check it out. Torrey Hunter on your right in a Tigers uniform. Lorenzo Cain. Look at the similarities with their hips, their hip turn. You know, everything's just the same here. But let it go. Let it keep going, and you'll see them follow through. And they have that arc, the same arc in their swing.
Outside 3-0 from Casey Fiend to Lorenzo Cain. Fiend is on for the 3rd time in the Minnesota-Baltimore series. He pitched an inning and 2/3 in 2 appearances and gave up 2 runs. There's a strike, 3-1. Coming off some shoulder issues. He was on the disabled list twice last year for the Twins.
Fiend's going to go 90-93 with a sinking fastball. Slider. Sinker, slider. Occasional change. Ups.
Ball 4. So the Royals have had 5 base runners in this inning. And that's thanks to 2 walks, an error, and 2 singles. And now they're loaded up for Eric Hosmer.
You know, just looking at that shot of Paul Molitor, man, just it's tough. That's the last thing any manager wants, especially early in the season, is to get off to a rough start. And you can see him right there. He's just grinding his teeth.
And I don't think the Twins have ever started 0-5.
Never. They are now 0-4. And when we say we're not just talking the Twins, we're talking about when they were the Washington Senators before they became the Twins. Even that part of the franchise never went 0-5. But to finish your point, Monty, yeah, the Twins looked awful last year when the Royals were their home opener. The Royals won that game 12-3. Minnesota was 1-6 at that point, and then they went 20-7. So there is some recent history that they can turn things around. Tied him up.
Managers will tell you the 2 most important months are April and September. Obviously, a good start's important, but a strong finish is equally as important. And that guy knows all about it.
With 1 out, Salvador Perez walked. Infante reached on an error, what could have been an inning double play. Orlando singled. Escobar popped out, and on the pop out, Escobar tried to double off a runner at first. That was an error, scoring a run. Mike Moustakas drove in a run with a single. Lorenzo Cain has walked, and now Eric Hosmer has a chance to bust this wide open for the Royals.
Good chance he's going to get a very hittable pitch on the 2-1 count.
And he blasts it to deep center field. Santana to the track, and he made the play. Awkwardly, but he made the play. Well, you're right, he got a hittable pitch and almost turned a 4-0 game into an 8-0 game.
Great play by Santana. Excellent focus to catch that ball in the wind.
Fifth as we head to the 6th inning and 4-0 KC lead. What a story, literally. Trevor Story, rookie shortstop for the Colorado Rockies, who are without Troy Tulowitzki, who's now at the Blue Jays, and Jose Reyes. who may be suspended. So Trevor Story, the first player to hit 6 home runs in his first 4 games. 45th overall pick by the Rockies in 2011. Wow. Where do you go from there? He is on pace to hit 234 home runs this year, which would be a record.
That's not a career, that's a season.
Hey, man, you better figure out a way to pitch him.
Ian Kennedy, meanwhile, has given up no runs, 3 hits in his first 5 innings, no walks, and he has struck out 6. 1 ball and 1 strike against Kurt Suzuki, who flied out to Orlando in right field in the 3rd inning. So here's where the good ones come back with what they call a shutdown inning. Right after your team either takes the lead or increases the lead. These can be back-breaking outs if you're Minnesota trying to get back in the game. And Omar Infante, how about that? Right after Minnesota makes 2 errors in the last half inning, Infante makes that play for the first out.
Well, all that is soft hands. Second baseman, 1 hopper like that, all you can do is just try to get in front if you can. If not, you get the side, but trust those hands. Turn that ball into a marshmallow. Boy, that's good concentration. Talking with Jershely, the infield instructor before the game, about Infante today. Jershely said Infante, he's the ultimate pro. He's a veteran of long time. Doesn't have a lot of emotion in him, but said this spring he's seen more life out of him than he ever has in his previous 2 seasons. Having fun, and you know it's easy on this team because they love it. They play with joy. They all have fun together, and so Infante, he's finally buying in, and he's having a good time, and it shows because you're relaxed. You play better.
Well, maybe one of the first seasons for a while for him. He's had to go to spring training and perform to earn a job, for a starting job.
You're right.
I know his first couple of seasons with the Royals, he was injured a lot, really didn't hardly play any games till almost right up to the end of spring training camp. Got very limited work during spring training, but this year, different story. He had to go in and really kind of earn that job back.
Yeah, and you know, last year he had bone chips in his elbows, similar problems, and finally this year he went and saw the doc. Doc turned the vacuum on, sucked those things out of there, and got him going.
There's Kennedy's first walk. Dozier is on with 1 out. Fox Tracks, presented by Missouri Lottery. Very close, but outside. Correctly called by home plate umpire DJ Rayburn. One on, 1 out, and now Danny Santana. He just made a nice play in center field on a drive from Eric Hosmer, which saved the Twins having an even bigger deficit. Great pitch at the knees over the outside. That's about all Santana could do with that pitch, was just watch it being called for a strike. He has popped to short and flied to center. Big swing and a miss, 0-2.
See the curveball there. He throws the 2-seam fastball that had life on the first pitch, and he throws a pitch that has the opposite movement going down and in to the left-handed batter on the second pitch. That's why I said unpredictability is something that Ian Kennedy has, and if he's on with all of his pitches, he's going to be a tough guy to deal with.
It's a hitter's worst nightmare. It's so hard to square up a big league pitch as it is, but man, when you have a pitcher that you're facing that's unpredictable with his pitch sequence, you're in trouble.
And we just saw him elevate the fastball, going to try to climb the ladder to get the swing and miss on the strikeout. He did that a lot last year. His strikeout total was up last year as a result of that high fastball. one thing Dave Island said, keep an eye on it, because sometimes when he's throwing that elevated fastball, he will have a tendency to leave some pitches up because that he's kind of pushing the ball a little bit. We have not seen that tonight, which is a very good sign.
Hosmer plays it in foul territory, and you know, two different size pitchers and two different deliveries, but Chris Young, who comes right over the top with his fastball, that angle in itself, even though it might be the same location, is less hittable than a guy who's 3/4 and pitches up in the strike zone.
Right, because Chris Young's is not flat. It still has downhill trajectory, and a guy like Kennedy, who's around 6'1", he's going to be, to get to the ball to the top part of the strike zone, he almost has to push the ball.
Just nicked it foul. Still 0-2.
Talking with Dave Island about his move to first base, he said, you know, he's average over there, but he's really good at his hold times. He'll show different holds. He'll create different looks for the runner at first base that kind of keeps him guessing. And then when he holds that ball with a changeup grip, the hitter can see that. That also plays into the hitter's mind.
To center field. Kane was shallow, but he gets to the spot he needed to quickly. So Dozier tags and holds. And there are 2 down. Royals fans, the next time you want to grab Royals seats, get the StubHub app. Not only will you find seats you'll love whenever you want, you can find the best seat for the buck when you sort by best value. We take the price and location of seats and show you which tickets at StubHub give you the best deal. So get the StubHub app today. Mr. and Mrs. Kaufman basking in the glory of the Royals' recent successes. In that statue appropriate?
Very nice.
Well hit. There's Infante again. He gets Mauer, and that is 6 scoreless innings for Ian Kennedy in his Royals debut. Royals to the bottom of the 6th inning. It was only 3 games, but the Royals coming into tonight were the only American League team without a home run. And then Mike Moustakas and Lorenzo Cain hit back-to-back home runs in the 4th inning against Tommy Malone.
It's just carrying over. Oh, man.
And then there's Ian Kennedy with 6 scoreless innings. No activity in the Royals bullpen. Kendrys Morales, Alex Gordon, Salvador Perez. In our Sonic Slam inning, our contestant is David Mathewson from Kansas City, Missouri. The Royals hit a home run in this inning. David wins $400. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, David wins $25 grand from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. Morales against Malone, struck out in the 2nd inning and the 4th. Both times swinging. Casey Fiend came on to get the final out of the 5th inning. That ball is hit well into right center field. Santana all the way back. Gone. A 3rd home run tonight for the Royals. And a Sonic Slam inning right off the bat. Kendrys Morales hits his 1st of the year, and the Royals lead 5-0.
Oh, Dave, how about you? That ball was golfed. I mean, that ball was down low, and Morales is able to lift it. A lot of guys has hit a little ground ball on it with the location of that pitch. But established designated hitters, and the best one in the league last year, by the way, knows how to lift those. That was a beauty.
Tommy Malone, remember, he set down the first 10 Royals hitters. And now the Royals have 5 runs in the last 3 innings. 3 of those on home runs. Moustakas, Kane, and now Morales. One and two to Alex Gordon. Kendrys Morales, we were talking about Edinson Volquez last inning and how most people just went, whatever, when the Royals signed him. Well, they reacted the same way when the Royals signed Kendrys Morales, and all he did was go out and drive in 106 runs. Fiend gets his first strikeout.
Where this location is. It's a breaking ball. Suzuki going to catch it on the ground. A little slider. Catches it underneath the baseball. And that, when you do that, you get that backspin and that carry even into the wind. That's a long way to hit one here at the K.
Good effort with the cap. That's the best that he had. He didn't bring his glove to the ballpark.
No, but you know, you like the effort.
But as we saw last night, just because you bring your glove to the ballpark doesn't necessarily mean you're going to catch one. Santana into left center field, and he's unable to make the play. Does Salvador Perez have another triple in him? His heart was in one place, his legs were in another place.
I was hoping he wouldn't stretch it. Easy does it. 2-bagger, you're in scoring position, good enough. But you could tell he caught a pitch right down the middle.
He was thinking about it there for a while.
Yeah, 3 steps around first. He thought he might.
And now Paul Molitor and one of the Twins trainers are going to go out and check on Danny Santana.
That's not good, especially if it's a leg muscle. Santana having to run a lot out there tonight. You can see when you decelerate like that, sometimes that's when the muscles tighten up on you.
He's going to come out of the game. Byron Buxton who started in center field last night, is getting ready to come in. And I told you last night, Danny Santana was the best hitter for the Twins in spring training, and a prospect that they've been waiting on for a while. He just hasn't been able to put it together yet in the big leagues. And a great spring. And now here they are, 5 games into the season. He has to leave with an injury.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate too. Minnesota, after tomorrow's game, head home for their opener. It's going to be cold up there. It just that's tough injury there.
Well, with Salvi almost hitting triples in back-to-back games, let's answer our sprint trivia question. Who has the most triples in a single season by a Royals catcher? I'm going to go with John Wathan.
Yep, that's a good call.
Darryl Porter. Now, you did some exhaustive research.
I had all time.
You didn't cheat and look at single seasons, but Darryl Porter was second to John Wathan amongst Royals catchers for career triples.
That's right. John Wathan had 25 career triples. Porter had 21. George Brett has 137 to lead all Royals. Willie Wilson right behind him at 133. Man, that's a lot of ground. And in this ballpark, you can hit triples.
Omar Infante reached on an important play last inning when the Royals scored 2 unearned runs. Reached on an error by the shortstop Escobar. Escobar ended up making 2 errors in the inning. And then Infante in the very next half inning made a good play at second base on a shot hit by Kurt Suzuki. Off the end of the bat, and that will spin foul. The Royals in the first 3 innings had no runs, no hits, no anything. And now in the last 3 innings, 5 runs on 6 hits.
Dale Swain with his book of knowledge. Scouting reports on all the pitchers. Gives the guys a heads up before they get up there to what to look for.
Center field, right at Buxton. 2 down. Salvador Perez goes back to second base. Let's go to Joel.
All right, time for our Mazda game break. By the way, that book for Swaim is nothing compared to Ryan's old big blue book of knowledge.
That's right.
But we're in the new day now, which means rules are different too. Here's the slide rule again last night. Okay, Colby Rasmus, we've established it, that you can't slide past the bag, but he was already out. But because he violated that rule, it's interference. The runner at first is also ruled out. So that game ended. There's former Royal Jeremy Jeffress with the save on a, I guess you'd kind of call it a walk-off slide rule, so to speak. The second time we've seen some version of that this week. Guys, a lot of criticism over this one. We'll get back to it after the Orlando hit.
Look at Paulo Orlando. Another base hit. He drives in a run. The Royals lead 6-0 with their 3rd straight 2-run inning.
And the 3rd pitch Paulo's seen all night. He is first ball hacking. 3 pitches, 2 hits. Little slider that didn't do much. Looked like it backed up, just kind of stayed right up in that hitting zone. Paulo hits it off the end of the bat, but that was a nice base hit with a stake attached.
Ian Kennedy loves that. 6 runs of support. And now another pitching change for the Twins as Michael Tonkin comes on with 1 on, 2 out. Brazil tomorrow. UFC Fight Night returns to FS1, and heavyweights will rule the octagon as Ben Rothwell takes on former champion Junior Dos Santos. Plus, Gabriel Gonzaga battles Derek Lewis. That's a big Derek Lewis guy. That's right. It's all tomorrow at a special time of 10:30 a.m. only on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Michael Tonkin makes his season debut. He inherits Paulo Orlando at first base, who just drove in Salvador Perez, and will pitch to Alcides Escobar. With Escobar at the plate, and Alcides is number 2. That's been the key number for the Royals this year. They have scored in 8 different innings. 6 of those 8, they've scored exactly 2 runs. And they've done it in 3 consecutive innings tonight. Isn't that interesting?
2s are wild. I like it. Stay with it. That's that book of knowledge you're in, man, over there. I like it. It's good. Now, Tonkin, he's similar to Fiend, except for that pitch there got away from him. 6'7", 220-pound sinker baller. He's going to go 87 to 93 with his sinker. That one didn't sink. Then he got a slider.
Orlando's running, and that ball's to the gap. Nice effort by Arcia, and it goes to the wall. It's a 3-run 6th. It's an Alcides Escobar triple, and the Royals lead is 7-0.
You know, down 6 runs, trying to leave your feet on a ball that really he had no chance of catching is not advisable. You want to play it safe, back off, catch the hop, keep the runners from scoring, but Escobar with a beautiful inside-out swing.
And he only missed it by 11 feet.
Yeah, it was not about. Now watch the slide. See the slide? Perfect. Young sliders out there, young baseball players. You see how he put his both hands in the air, slid on his bottom. That keeps you away from any wrist injuries, any hand injuries, by putting your hands down on the ground. I noticed that slide him going in. I said, we got to show that again to the youngsters out there. That's a big league slide right there. That's how you want to do it.
Mike Moustakas has a chance to drive in a run in a 3rd consecutive inning.
Okay, right leg tucked, both hands in the air, and let your momentum carry you back up, standing up. And when you slide on your right side, keep yourself from getting hit by a ball thrown from an outfielder or catcher on any of the bases, 2nd, 3rd, or home.
Dozier to the middle. Moustakas is out. He's driven in 2 tonight. The Royals get 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, and 7 runs for Ian Kennedy as he gets ready to take the mound again. Here in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Man, I'm going to tell you what. For his debut, Ian Kennedy is silencing all of his critics. That's right. There was a ton of them going, well, really? You'd give that kind of money to a guy like this? Absolutely. Look at him. Just dissecting that plate. Corners down, elevation, all 4 pitches working. He's on his game. With that defense behind him, watch out.
Six strikeouts in 6 innings. Minnesota's had only 4 base runners. One of them, Trevor Plouffe, with a single in the 4th inning. He's 1 for 2. That was just pitch number 90 for Kennedy. 1-1 on Plouffe.
Look at how great Salvi's hands are. He just picked that out of the dirt with no problem. Fun to watch this guy catch.
Man, right over the outside edge.
Watch this pick and grin here. Salvi, overhand spin on the ball is going to make it come up. Played perfectly. Right to the umpire. There you go, sir.
All in one motion.
Yeah. He wears the gold for a reason.
Two and 2 on Plouffe.
You know, you ask around the league, and there'll be plenty of managers and players that say the same thing I did. It's fun to watch. He's passionate. He's in on every pitch. Now, the ball that crossed him up last night, he took the blame for that. There was a runner at second base. And sometimes, you know, you're thinking ahead, and there's a different sequence of signs that they give when a runner's on second base, and Salvi just missed it. It was his fault. He missed the sign, and fortunately he's all right. Look at Kennedy. Man, is he something.
7 strikeouts in 6 1/3. Oswaldo Arcia is 0 for 2, and with that pitch, Danny Duffy begins to warm up in the Royals bullpen as Kennedy is 4 pitches away from 100. Oh and 2.
Just filling that strike zone with all kinds of pitches. Kennedy mainly going right after these guys now. With a 7-0 lead, he's throwing all fastballs.
Out to Alex in left field. 2 down. New this season, the remodeled Rival Sports Bar now offers front row seating. Each game ticket includes a bar rail in front of each seat and $20 in loaded value with in-seat service. For more information on pricing or to reserve your seats, go to Royals.com/tickets or 1-800-6-ROYALS for the new Rival Sports Bar. Ian Kennedy is 1 out away from a huge ovation. Byung-Ho Park has struck out twice against Kennedy, both times looking at fastballs. As Kennedy gets ready to throw his 100th pitch. And a changeup tails inside, 2 balls and no strikes. Shallow center field and in for a base hit. So Park, strong man, was jammed badly, but able to muscle it out into center field for a 2-out single.
You see that thing in his mouth there? They just showed a shot of that. That's called a thumb guard for anybody who's interested. Thumb guard, you put it on your thumb and it kind of takes away the shock from getting jammed.
He needed it on that swing.
Yeah, now he's putting his sliding guard on. Okay, thumb guard, right hand. Usually it's on that top hand because that's the thumb that feels the most friction.
A little bit inside to Escobar 1 for 2 at the plate, and then committed at the time 2 critical errors in the 5th inning, leading to 2 unearned runs. It turned a 2-0 game into a 4-0 game. Outside with a changeup.
You play the Kansas City Royals and you're not airtight, good chance you're going to lose.
(3-0). Duffy appears to be ready in the bullpen, and a left-hand hitter, Eddie Rosario, is on deck. Might be a little sign of fatigue to take all that time to tie his shoes and catch his breath.
Yeah, Moose went up and gave him a little encouragement, a little love.
So what do you say there?
Well,
when you run in as an infielder,
I know umpires in the speeding of the game, they don't like infielders going in, but they can't control it because Moose went in and grabbed the rosin bag. That's what you do. You want to send a message to the pitcher verbally, you go in and you grab the rosin bag for a little bit of a grip. And then you go ahead and give your message in, and you can run back like Moose did.
One strike away from 7 scoreless innings in his Royals debut.
Yep, why not stay with a fastball?
Park runs, and it's pulled foul in front of first base coach Butch Davis.
Butch Davis is a former Royal. Might have been before your time, Rhino.
Well before my time.
Yeah, I played against him in the minors. Butch Davis, their first base coach. Good player. Good speed. Hustle. Played hard. There he is, number 40 over there.
Another foul ball. Look out, Butch.
Yeah, but you know, and Salvi's putting down fastball, and Salvi's sitting up right down the middle of the plate. When you have that kind of movement that you're getting from your starter, like Kennedy, 2 seamers, changeups, all moving away, catcher's set in the middle, and just let the ball ride. The ball will go where it's supposed to go, but Salvi's not sitting on the corners watching me, saying, "Come on, let's finish strong."
On the ground, Infante to the hole. Park will go to third. And even though he doesn't get 7 innings, Ian Kennedy is still going to get a big ovation as Ned Yost comes out of the dugout.
Yeah, he is. 4 straight fastballs. You're going to hit them. You're going to hit one of them. Gosh, I just love what Kennedy did, man. Unbelievable. Showing some tremendous skills, man.
They're standing up already, and Ned's not even to the mound. seated behind Christian Colon in the Royals dugout. What a debut. And the Twins have had very few opportunities against Kennedy. We told you last night the difficulty Minnesota has had early on hitting with runners in scoring position. This is only their third opportunity tonight with runners at first and third, 2 down. So they've struggled, and the Royals have been outstanding pitching with runners in scoring position. Our Kubota power stats, the lowest opponent's average with runners in scoring position. The Mets and the Twins are hitting a combined .065. Eduardo Escobar takes second base on defensive indifference. .065 in 3+ games. And now runners at second and third, both the responsibility of Kennedy. And Duffy pitches to Miguel Sano. Danny appears for the second time this year. He pitched on Tuesday against the Mets, going an inning and 2/3 scoreless. Those are his overall numbers from last year. As a reliever in the major leagues, Danny Duffy has pitched in 13 games and his ERA is under 1. Very high in the air to Paulo Orlando. So Duffy closes out in the 7th inning. Kennedy 6 2/3 scoreless. Stretch time at Kauffman Stadium. The Royals lead is 7-0. Wow.
For Ian Kennedy, Joel Goldberg back here at the new home of Ian, Kauffman Stadium, and just fell short of those 7 shutout innings. Guys, I checked with Stats Inc. He would have been the first pitcher to go 7 or more shutout innings in his Royals debut since, wait for it, Pat Rep, April 2nd, 1998. A game the Royals lost because a very rare thing happened that night. Jeff Montgomery actually blew the save. What happened, Monty?
He should have gone 9.
The, of course, debut that we might remember. Well done, Monty. Johnny Cueto in his home debut did go 9 shutout last night. Monty did okay. He had 304 saves.
That's an easy answer to that question, right?
It's perfect. There you go, Joe.
Lorenzo Cain hit his first home run in the 4th inning. That was back-to-back with Mike Moustakas. He is facing Michael Tonkin here in the 7th inning. Tommy Malone went 4 2/3. He gave up 4 runs. 2 were unearned. Casey Feen gave up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. And then Tonkin allowed a run. And he came on in the 6th. All of this started tonight with the Royals' first 10 batters going down. 10 up, 10 down. And we've seen the best of Tommy Milone in the past, especially when he was with the A's. And it was a familiar sight the way he was, at least the way he started tonight. He gave up the 2 solo home runs in the 4th, and then his defense let him down in the 5th. Kane goes the other way. This is Sano, who just appeared as a pinch hitter. He goes into right field, and Oswaldo Arcia, who started the game in right, he is shifted over to left. Remember, this week only T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to sign up now and catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. On Eric Hosmer. He is hitless in 3 trips. Came very close to hitting a grand slam with 2 outs in the 5th inning. Danny Santana made the play on the warning track on another night, a little warmer night, a little different wind.
Yeah,
probably is a grand slam.
And I bet Haas will tell you he got a lot of that ball. I mean, it was well struck to hit it that far. You got to hit. You got to get the barrel on it.
4-pitch walk.
Let's go back and listen to the sound of that Hosmer blast. Sounded clean to me. But you know, all the mileage of Danny Santana, the center fielder who left with a right strained hamstring, they just announced. That's a lot of mileage. You know, you give those outfielders all that running, all that hitting that the Royals have been doing, running those guys left and right to the walls. It's unfortunate he got injured.
Kendrys Morales is also homered tonight. That was last inning. Leading off the 6th against Casey Fiend. And he's ahead in the count 2-0.
He golfed this baby out for his first of the year. Ooh, man, is he strong.
Well, if Moustakas' home run was a 3-iron, that was more of a 7 or 8 iron.
I'm going to agree with that.
On Morales.
You know, I just love how Morales doesn't get out of the batter's box. You know, he's an umpire's dream as far as keeping the game moving. He just takes his right foot or left foot, wherever he's hitting, just steps out with 1 foot and keeps that toe hold in there. It's right back in that box.
Like to have that pitch again.
Yep, sinker away, base hit, left field coming up. Let's see, he leaves it in. He leaves it in the middle. You see that little, it's almost sidearm, and he's going to get some action on that ball moving away.
I think we'll see a different result if he throws that same pitch again.
I would think so. Morales hits the ball where it's pitched. Great hand-eye coordination.
That was up and out of the strike zone. Morales strikes out, 2 down. Vote for the Royals Player of the Month at one of the 7 Rally House locations in the Kansas City metro area. All participants will be entered to win a majestic prize pack. Ian Kennedy's headed for the clubhouse after 6 2/3 scoreless in his Royals debut. Close, but ball one to Alex Gordon. He is 0 for 3. Two balls and no strikes. Tonkin having a tough time throwing strikes. With one out, he walked Hosmer on 4 straight. He did strike out Morales, but he had fallen behind 3-0. And now 3-0 to Alex. There is nobody warming up in the Twins bullpen. 3-1. Another walk. Two on, two out for Salvi. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals. They may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Club. Ryan Lefevre, Rex Hudler, Joel Goldberg, Jeff Montgomery, with producer Joe Vencius, director Steve Kurtenbach, our associate producers Al Broughton, Sam Abramson, Dave Holtzman, and the producer of Royals Live is Brian Shapiro. Salvi has scored twice, reached with a walk and scored a run in the 5th inning, and then doubled and scored in the 6th. The outside may have been a generous call. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Tonkin just going sinker, sinker, sinker.
Got Salvi to chase 1 and 2.
Yeah, he really mixed in a little slider there.
Lays off the pitch this time, 2 and 2. Fans behind the Royals dugout, behind the netting, which did not exist last year, but if that is the father of those boys, I'm sure he feels a lot safer about his seat location.
Oh, without a doubt.
Boys can turn and talk to one another with a right-hand batter at the plate. Last night we saw Alex Gordon break a bat in half, and the bat hit where netting did not exist last year. Full count, runners will be going. Hosmer is at second, Gordon's at first.
Salvi used right field a lot in spring training. He really went to the opposite field a lot. He's not as pull happy as he was last season. See what happens here.
Good trying to go the other way.
Yeah, I like that. He's utilizing the larger part of the field over there. That's good for the average. Moustakas will tell you that. Look at him load up. He's waiting. Key to hitting to the opposite field is all about waiting.
On the ground to third. Plouffe has a long throw. 1 hop. Good play. Gets it to Maurer to end the inning. Royals have scored 7 runs tonight. The Twins have scored none. Good night so far as we head to the 8th. Brought to you by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit yourmidwestforddealers.com. Danny Duffy recorded the final out of the 7th inning in relief of Ian Kennedy, who went 6 2/3 scoreless in his Royals debut while striking out 7. And now Duffy in the 8th will get Suzuki, Dozier, and Buxton. Duffy pitches out of the stretch with nobody on. The Royals still have hopes for Danny Duffy being a starting pitcher somewhere down the road. Dayton Moore told us that when he joined us during a spring training broadcast. But for now, they don't want him to think about that. They want him to concentrate 100% on pitching out of the bullpen. And that's why he pitches out of the stretch with nobody on. He got that in on Suzuki just enough. And he flies to Alex Gordon, 1 away. And as we pointed out last inning when he came on, Hud, his ERA, and now 14 in the middle of his 14th relief appearance in the big leagues, is under 1.
Yeah, it's incredible to see what adjustments he's made by going out there and keeping fresh, realizing that he has a chance to pitch 3-4 times a week. He can let it all out. Got above average fastball, nice slider, good changeup, mainly fastball slider combination. Live arm. No, Dave Island said that his starting rotation is deeper than last year, and his bullpen's deeper. So if you look at it, every guy they bring out of that bullpen is a guy that has experience and has skills that can get the job done. It's not any guys you're going, oh no. As far as Soria goes, Dave Island said we're not worried about him. He left the slider up.
Yeah, and he ended up striking out the side, by the way, last night.
Yeah, and I liked what I saw from him. He's going to be fine.
Three and 1 on Dozier.
I just remember when Jim Leland was the Detroit Tigers manager, and he always, first time I'd see him before a series, he'd always ask, how's that Duffy kid? How's Duffy? He loved it.
That's a good Jim Leland, by the way.
Thank you.
That'll drop in front of Lorenzo Cain.
Well, one of the major staples of the world champion Royals is defense. Everybody knows it. From behind the plate, you got gold thrown to gold. That's a crime. No question. These guys, they know how to play. Fonte takes the short hop knock, probably came off about 100 miles an hour, turned that ball into a marshmallow, and then out. Just love how these guys focus and their concentration on catching that ball. And
Toyota League leaders, only team in Major League Baseball without an error.
Not surprised.
For a long time, really the only measurement of defense was fielding percentage, and that tells part of the story, not all of the story. That's basically just measuring chances and errors. But there are teams who don't make many errors, but they're not that good defensively. And you say, well, how does that figure? Well, they don't have a lot of range. They don't make plays that they should make. They're just not charged with a lot of errors. Buxton is down on 3 pitches. The flip side of that is Lorenzo Cain may have taken himself out of Gold Glove consideration last year because he committed 10 errors. Can't think of one error that cost the Royals a game. Maybe there was one. It doesn't come to mind. But, you know, so Lorenzo Cain made 10 errors last year. Does that make him a bad outfielder? No. He's a very good outfielder, but that's how the defensive metrics have changed. They're just trying to find ways to measure the impact of a defense beyond whether they make errors or not.
Well said.
Thank you. I've been working on that speech for a week.
It's awesome. Kane will win a Gold Glove. That guy Moustakas will win a gold before their career's over. Guarantee it.
Joe Mauer with 2 down and Dozier at first base. Duffy with a good pitch at the knees. Mauer has struck out twice and grounded out. Royals last night used Hochevar, Herrera, Soria, and Davis. That was after 2 off days. Now they're in a stretch of 10 games in 10 days. So a good shot at a victory here was staying away from those guys, getting Duffy into a game. Mauer muscles one into center field. Dozier makes the turn, and he'll go to third. Parents, don't forget to sign the kids up for Sluggers Blue Crew to get your little ones all geared up for the baseball season. This year we feature trendy Royals blue and neon colors. Members receive a zippered performance pullover, flat bill cap. That's the way the kids like it these days.
That's right.
Sports necklace, 2 tickets to a Royals game, a free stadium tour, and much more. And membership is just $25. Join now at royals.com/Blue Crew.
What a deal.
Ball 1 to Trevor Plouffe, who is 1 for 3 with a single. Good to see neon making a comeback.
Yeah. You could wear anything at the K and people would be happy here.
See, there you go. Make me want to bust out my suede Pumas with my fat neon laces. 2-1 on Plouffe. On the ground to Moustakas, well hit, little bobble, quick recovery, and that's the inning. So Kennedy and Duffy have combined for 8 scoreless innings. 7-0 KC. And by Steel Outdoor Power Equipment. Quality, reliability, and value. Find a servicing Steel dealer at steeldealers.com or search Steel. Glenn Perkins is on, the Minnesota closer. And for Perkins, this is his season debut.
Yeah, got to get him out there. Twins haven't had many leads late. Got to find a way to get him in. Fastball, curveball change.
Hey, there's a night that little guy will never forget.
That smile, love it.
He'll be smiling all the way until he falls asleep tonight. Omar Infante is 0 for 3 tonight. He has scored a run. He's had a good night on defense. Inside from Perkins, 2 balls and 1 strike. Royals scored 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, and 3 in the 6th. After not getting a single base runner until 1 out in the 4th inning. Base hit center field for Infante. His 4th hit of the year, and the Royals have the leadoff man on. All those runs tonight, and that's the first time the Royals have had a leadoff man on base, because Kendrys Morales led off the 6th inning with a home run, so he's never really on base.
See, Apollo stays with. Oh. Well, he's
Didn't look right.
He's not going to swing at that one. I was just getting ready to say he swung at the first pitch all 3 times up. Got 2 hits on it, and then this one goes behind him. Ooh, yeah.
I've got several Royals to the railing on the top step of the Royals dugout.
Yeah, look at that. Those guys are serious. These guys are brothers. It's a family. You mess with one, you mess with all of them.
That does not look like a team that is sitting back and comfortable with a 7-0 lead. One ball and 2 strikes. Two and 2. Paulo has 2 hits, a run scored, and an RBI in his first game of the year after Ray Fuentes started the first 3 games. Chopped to short. Escobar has a couple of errors tonight, and on a couple of bounces he takes Mauer off the bag. It'll be an infield single and a 3-hit game for Paulo Orlando.
Yeah, that's a knock all the way. Ball hit to the shortstop's right, going into the hole from a hitter that can run. He's going to get the benefit every time. Look at that hustle out of the box.
Like he's running through the tape.
That's right. He's a track star. Look at that stride. Wow. Perfect touch on the bag. Front part of the bag. Fundamentally correct.
Paulo Orlando ties a career high with a 3-hit game. The Royals have 10 tonight. Fouled away by Alcides Escobar.
And in his first game, you know, Paulo around the batting cage today when he came up there to hit with the regulars, I go, hey, you made the lineup. And he had a huge smile on his face. I mean, like, he's like, yeah, I get to perform in front of these people. These fans here at the K. And look at him.
Over 31,000 here tonight.
Making the most of it. 3 for 4.
Escobar hits it to right field. Sano is there. 1 down. Coming up after the game, Boulevard Royals Live with Joel and Monty. There is a lot to talk about. The Royals were 2-1 going into tonight, and yet they were having some struggles offensively, batting .226 as a team, but they busted out with 7 runs, 10 hits, 3 home runs. And of course the effort of Ian Kennedy in his Royals debut, 6 2/3 scoreless innings. Mike Moustakas takes a slider for a strike. He hit the first of the 3 Royals home runs. The Royals had gone 10 up and 10 down against Tommy Milone through 3 1/3, and then Mike Moustakas put an end to that with a home run. Then Lorenzo Cain homered, and the Royals went on to score 7 runs combined in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings. No swing, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Moustakas is driven in 2 after the home run in the 4th inning. He drove in a run with a single to right in the 5th. Two down. And Glenn Perkins hits a milestone. That was strikeout number 500 in his career. Lorenzo Cain homered after the Moustakas home run in the 4th inning. He's 1 for 3 with a walk. Perkins, as well as the rest of the Minnesota bullpen, is going to be a question mark this year. Perkins was shut down at the end of the 2014 season with a nerve problem in his left forearm. And in the second half of last year, as the ball gets away from Suzuki, 2 runners will move up. Perkins, after being named to the All-Star team last year, his ERA in the second half was 7.32.
Oh man, start looking for some physical issues with those kind of numbers.
Cain has a chance to drive in a couple of runs here. A wild pitch charged to Perkins, and now a pass ball charged to Suzuki. Not been a good night for Minnesota as far as helping the Royals reach base or advance bases. Minnesota's problems continue with runners in scoring position. That was a category where they really thrived last year. Did Cain go? Yes. Don't think he's too upset about that. I think he wants to swing the bat.
Yep. Perkins might challenge him with another one of those borderline high pitches. It's a good spot to put it on. Don't make a mistake. Ooh. He left a slider out over the top there, over the middle.
Minnesota is now 2 for 33 with runners in scoring position this year. Oof. Ball 4, and they're loaded up for Hosmer, who probably couldn't wait to come to the plate. He seemed to be most upset among the Royals when they went to the top step after Perkins threw behind Paulo Orlando. Hosmer had a chance with the bases loaded in the 5th inning when the game was 4-0. And against Casey Fiend, hit the ball to the warning track in straightaway center field. Just missed hitting a grand slam. 1 ball and 1 strike. He has Infante at 3rd. He singled. Orlando at 2nd. He singled. And Kane at 1st. He walked.
That's the ball. That last one there. Haas loves those out over and away.
One and 2.
Like he took something off of that. That was a BP fastball. Just straight fastball at 89.
In betweener, they used to call it.
Yeah.
Not a fastball, and it's not a changeup. Hosmer strikes out. Perkins does not give up a run. The Royals leave the bases loaded. We head to the 9th inning. Chien-Ming Wang will make his Royals debut. The Royals lead 7-0. That would be the case. Our Mazda game break. Let's take a look at Edinson Volquez and how he did Sunday night against the New York Mets. 2 hits over 6 scoreless innings. The Royals starters ERA, by the way, in the first 4 games is 1.59, and Volquez get a chance to start again tomorrow against Ricky Nolasco, who will be making his season debut. First pitch tomorrow is at 1:15, and then the Royals hit the road. They'll go to Houston for 4 and Oakland for 3. So we had Ian Kennedy's Royals debut, and now Chien-Ming Wang's debut. In 2006 and 2007, he won 38 games for the Yankees. That was the most in the major leagues, and then since then it's been a struggle to stay off of the disabled list. And this is his first big league pitch since 2013. August 24th of 13 with the Blue Jays.
It's a lot of work, I'm telling you, and he never gave up. His shoulder gave him some issues, had some problems, had to find that arm slot again, but he won a job out of camp by really impressing Dave Island and Ned Yost with 93 to 95 mile-an-hour sinkage. And his pitch, good hard sink. Roll a curveball up there. He's got a changeup. He's got all 4, but main thing is he's got experience.
And Dave Island's a great measuring stick because he was pitching coach for the Yankees for part of that time. So when he says Chien-Ming Wang looks right, he knows because he saw Chien-Ming Wang at his best. There it is right there. You see, I thought he had a fastball that was in a hittable part of the plate, and it just disappeared down on him.
Yep, and once Chien-Ming Wang gets his groove and gets his rhythm down in big league games, he'll be a guy that Ned can bring out of the bullpen when he needs a ground ball double play in a tight situation.
3 balls and 2 strikes.
But you know, that slow, methodical windup of Wong's is sometimes deceptive to hitters. A little bit of a pause over his head there.
I asked Dave Island, I said, does he have any additional challenges pitching that slowly with that motion, you know, the body control? He said no, he's been doing it his whole life, and really only the slow part is in the beginning, and once he gets into really the important part of his mechanics, like right about here, it's normal speed.
See, he's just a ground ball machine. Even belt high fastballs or sinkers. See that separation right up over the rubber. Good extension. Stays on top. He's got a very nice arm slot for a sinker baller. And that's one of the things that he had to work on in between the last couple of seasons. Finding that arm slot again.
Garcia walks to begin the 9th inning. If you can't watch the games on TV, you can now stream games live on your mobile device. Just go to your app store and download the free Fox Sports Go app. Log in and stream the Royals wherever you go. Now Byung-Ho Park. There's a good sinker for a strike. Park, who hit a big home run in the 8th inning for Minnesota last night, is 1 for 3 tonight with a single and 2 strikeouts. Jammed him. And Alex makes a play in left center field. Both pitching coaches have a vested interest in Chien-Ming Wang. Wang signed in 2000 out of Taiwan, and 14 starts into his pro career, he injured his shoulder. And when he came back, the Yankees wanted him to stop throwing his curveball. That's Neil Allen, right next to Brian Dozier. He's the one with the cap on. He's the Minnesota pitching coach. Neil Allen was a minor league coach in the Yankees organization. So at that time, Chien-Ming Wang was a fastball, curveball, changeup pitcher, 4-seam fastball, curveball, changeup. Good velocity, but the fastball was straight and he was getting hit hard. So he comes back from shoulder surgery. They don't want him to throw his curveball, and it was Neil Allen who showed him the sinker grip, which changed his career.
Wow.
And now there he is as Minnesota's pitching coach. So both of the pitching coaches tonight are very interested in seeing how Chien-Ming Wang does.
Yeah, I mean, look at that's a bowling ball sinker.
Neil Allen told me that there was a game. He said there was a game in Boston, and Chien-Ming Wang threw 111 pitches, and 90 of them were sinkers. So when his sinker was working, that's all he threw. That's how good it was. That was the first shoulder injury. This is Eduardo Nunez hitting for Eduardo Escobar. The second shoulder injury for Chien-Ming Wang, he was running the bases in an interleague game, and he injured his right foot. Stock his backhands out at second, no double play, 2 down. Dave Island was telling me the story. Chien-Ming Wang, I think he spiked himself running the bases in a National League game. Had to go on the disabled list for a while. They thought he was fine, but his foot hurt him the rest of the year. So inadvertently, he changed his mechanics, to compensate for the sore foot. It put more strain on his shoulder. And that was the beginning of one trip to the disabled list after another for Chien-Ming Wang. And here he is with a chance to close out this game. His first big league game in 3 seasons. Nunez will take second base on defensive we don't care. That's why a lot of times when a pitcher has some sort of an injury like a foot or an ankle or a hamstring, that they'll stay on the disabled list a little longer than normal. Not because they're worried about the leg, they're worried about the pitcher is going to change his mechanics to compensate for the leg.
Yeah, and that's what pitching coaches and athletic trainers need to really keep an eye on is not the normal, oh, my arm hurts. No, it's the side or the leg, or, you know, because just like you said, overcompensation allows another body part to fatigue.
Two balls and 1 strike on Sano. He came on as a pinch hitter in the 7th inning, and with 2 on, he flied out to right field. Two and two. That will be back into the crowd.
What a ball game. Tommy Malone really putting a little bit of fear in the Royals offense, cruising through the first 3 innings. 4th inning, after 1 out, Moustakas got it all going with a line shot homer, and the rest is history.
No swing. John Hirschbeck, in his 34th year as a major league umpire, was not going to be caught up with the emotion in the crowd. That's what you were talking about last night. You could make a case that that bat passed the plane, but he was not attempting to strike the baseball. We're just going to throw him one sinker in on his hands after another. Struck him out to end the game. Welcome back, Chien-Ming Wang. Welcome back, Royals power with 3 home runs tonight. The Royals win their first series of the season. And for the first time in franchise history, whether you're talking about Washington or Minnesota, the Twins are 0-5 to begin a season. 7-0 Royals tonight. And boy, I tell you what, Hud, after a 3 1/3 innings tonight, it didn't look like the Royals were going to win 7-0.
Sure didn't. Moose got it all started. Nice little 3-iron shot over the right field wall, his first of the year. Lorenzo Cain followed up. I mean, and Tommy Malone left him a cookie out over the inner half, and he drove it off the Hall of Fame. Building out there in the 6th inning, Morales got a little curveball from Casey Fiend, a little slider looked like. He lifted it and put it in a deep part of the yard here. So the Royals coming in, the last team in the majors without a home run. They took care of that, and another KCW.
And then Ian Kennedy in his Royals debut was 6 2/3 scoreless inning. A great night at Kauffman Stadium. Let's go down to the field. Here's Joel.
All right, part of the offensive outburst tonight, Mike Moustakas with the first Royals home run of the year. I want to ask you about facing Tommy Milone and the Moose chance. Retired the first 10 batters. You break up the no-hitter with the home run. Kane follows right after. What changed for you?
You know, just getting a look at him again. I think he was throwing all his pitches well, and you know, it was just a battle. He's a great pitcher, and you know, threw the ball fantastic, but we were able to get to him that inning and put some good swings on him.
How important are these games? I know all year long they're important, but just to set a tone in the division too. You know it's coming.
I know. As soon as he gets, he's going for a little low. Got him.
Oh, he got Kane on the visiting broadcast. You're all set. All right, back to the answer.
Every game's important, especially early in the season. I mean, they all count for the exact same thing. So, you know, getting out to an early lead's nice, and we just got to go out there and keep playing ball.
And to be able to get into a rhythm, Moose is shaking his head. No, Salvi, get away. And you did say the interview would go as long as Salvi allowed it to go, so you're still dry. But to be able to finally get into that rhythm after a quirky week with a lot of off days, how nice has that been? It's nice.
It's nice to get back to baseball. You know, we're used to playing every day, and it's always nice to have some off days. But that early, it's a little different. So it's tough. But you know, we were able to come back and get a couple wins, and you know, win the series, which is big for us.
Great job tonight. Why did Salvi skip you? He's been staring at you with a smile like he was taunting you.
That's my boy. I'm too cold tonight. It's a little chilly out there, so it's nice that he skipped me today.
Last thing, Ian Kennedy, his Royals debut.
Fantastic. I mean, that's why we got him. You know, that's a guy that's gonna eat up innings for us. You know, keep us going, and you know, that's exactly why I got him for things like that. You know, he threw the ball fantastic, commanded all of his pitches, and did a fantastic job.
Way to stay dry. Great job tonight.
Thanks, Joe.
Mike Moustakas, one of the many offensive heroes to go along with Ian Kennedy on the mound. Guys, back up to you.
Mike Moustakas somehow stayed dry.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see how Salvi worked that, and Lorenzo Cain wasn't expecting it at all.
We'll be right back.